All right, our fifth speaker is an international speaker, and he has got three lovely points which I want to introduce about him. Number one, he is a generosity champion. He goes about telling everybody to just be generous with whatever God has given you. He believes that whatever we have, whether it's a time, a job, a money, a possessions, we are only stewards and we are not owners. Do you agree to that? Second, he is also a venture capitalist, and he does a lot of investments in social impact companies. And thirdly, and most importantly, he has 9 children. Can we put your hands together? One and only Daryl Heald, all the way from United States of America. Come on, we can do better.
So when I was a young real estate broker in Atlanta, Georgia, I was planning to go to this big real estate conference. And to my surprise, I got a call from this large investor who I'd been trying to recruit as a client. And he said, hey, I heard you might be going to this conference. Why don't you come with me? And I thought, well, that's an interesting invitation. This conference was out of the state, and I was planning on flying there. And I said, well, so what airline are you taking? He goes, no airline. You're going to come in with me on my jet. I went, I like that. And so I was anticipating this trip. It'd be my first time on a private jet. And I got on the jet with him, and the lady served coffee to us, asked if we needed anything else, and he quickly grabbed the Wall Street Journal and was reading it. And about 10 minutes later, he throws part of it, kind of tosses it over to me. And it was a section, if any of y'all have read the Wall Street Journal, there's this whole classified section. And it has, in that classified section, has all these amazing things for sale. Houses, cars, boats, even jets in the classified section. And he said, you know what? I read this every day. And he said, I think about, he goes, I'm flying here on its jet, and I'm thinking, that I could have a bigger jet. Maybe I could stand up in this one. Maybe I could take more people with me. He said, it's like this voice that just keeps yelling at me, bigger, better, faster, more. Bigger, better, faster, more. And I'm thinking, hey, what's wrong with that? Right? Because I'm thinking, as a young businessman, isn't this what we're supposed to pursue? And I said, aren't we all to be about chasing fame and fortune? Isn't that what it's about? Isn't that my purpose? Huh? What? Y'all recognize everybody up there? And I thought, anyhow, this was a big aha for me, because I realized what was, here I am as a believer, but in my life, I was just imitating everything the world was telling me to do. So my purpose, my passions, my priorities were defined by the world. Were actually defined by bigger, better, faster, more. I mean, I was thinking at the age of 24, I just wanted to trade seats with that investor on his jet, and everything would be fine. Right? But did God have something different? That's what I began to ask. And I started asking a number of friends, and I had a mentor that was discipling me. And he said, Daryl, we're going to memorize Matthew 6 together. And as we were memorizing Matthew 6, came to verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And I realized that big voice, bigger, better, faster, more, that there was another competing voice. But it was a still small voice that said, seek first the kingdom. Seek first the kingdom. And so I thought, okay, how do we go about doing that? So this is, I believe the Bible. I know this is true. But what does that mean? How do I practically live that out? How do I practically seek his kingdom? And he said, well, maybe a couple things you should try. He said, one, is there are people that have been doing this for a long time. So why don't you get some biographies and and start reading about some men and women who have actually been kingdom seekers. And the next thing you can do is find some people that are living that you can discern and figure out, are they seeking the kingdom? Are they listening to this different voice in another way? And then go about imitating that. So as a young father, as a husband and a young father now, I started getting some books and started reading these for myself and for our kids. William Borden, Amy Carmichael, Sundar Singh. Are any of those familiar? We were reading William Borden, very wealthy, from a very wealthy family in the U.S. And he was, at the age of 16, graduated from high school, and his parents gave him a trip around the world. And he saw a number of things there. And a number of things that actually disturbed him, because as a spiritual young man, he realized there were a lot of people hurting and a lot of things broken. And he wanted to be about something that was significant. And so he came back from this 2-year trip, getting ready to start Yale University, and he announced to everybody, I'm going to be a missionary. Which he quickly found that some of the people were detractors, and they're like, that's a waste of your life. Why would you do that? Why would you be a missionary? You have all these things ahead of you. Why would you do that? And they said he wrote in his Bible, no reserves. He didn't want to be hampered. He didn't want to have all this family money get in the way of what he believed God was telling him to do. So at Yale University, he continued his pursuit of God, seeking the kingdom. His freshman year, he started a prayer group. And at this prayer group, by the end of the freshman year, there were 150 people in this prayer group. By the senior year, out of the 1,300 students at Yale University, 1,000 students were part of this prayer group. After completing Yale University, he got a number of job offers. Wall Street, all these things in the family company. And he turned them all down. He decided, if I'm going to be a missionary, I want some more training. I'm going to go to Princeton Theological Seminary. A lot of people were sending all different types of signals to him. And he wrote 2 more words in the back of his Bible. No retreat. When he finished the theologicals is Princeton, he had his heart set on ministering to the Muslim people in China. So he set sail from New York, and going there, he decided to stop in Cairo to do Arabic training before he went to China. And while there, as a 25-year-old man, within a month, he contracted spinal meningitis and died. They got his Bible, and as the story is told, he wrote 2 more words in there before he died. No regrets. No reserves, no retreat, no regrets. These stories from Amy Carmichael, who came here, and for 55 years never went back to Ireland. And by the time her ministry was done, she had saved over 1,000 children here in India. Sundar Singh, many of y'all know that story as well. His simple lifestyle and his great faith, crisscrossing the Himalayas, barefoot, with a saffron robe, his Bible, and a small blanket, because he had this huge heart for the Tibetan people. No reserves, no retreat, no regrets. So what does this have to do with us? Well, one of the things that I started doing is that as our children got older, is I started taking them on some trips. Because I said, okay, we're reading about these people, but this whole part is not just thinking about it. We actually have to do something ourselves. So I wanted to activate this within our family to be kingdom seekers. And so we started doing that locally and globally. Well, one of the things that happened as I was taking my two older daughters with me is they were not as interested in a number of meetings I was having as young ladies who were 12 and 13. They wanted to hold babies, right? So they were looking for orphanages where they could go take care of some kids. And I was thinking, I don't do kids. But because my daughters wanted to do this, I would do that. And so in all these different places we went, we came to India, China, South America, Africa, Europe. They were holding babies everywhere. And as they were younger, they kept saying to me, hey, Dad, can't we take a couple of them home? And I said, it's not that easy. Plus, we got to ask your mom, right? I could get in trouble here. But actually, when they were saying these type of things, it actually scared me a little bit. Because I was at this point happy to be a giver, but that really, in the inside of my heart, really disturbed me. But when they were skip forward a couple more years, they're 14 and 15, and what happens for those of y'all who are very young here, you have kids. Sometimes what happens is that as they get older, the tables get flipped sometimes, and now all of a sudden they're saying some things to you, and all of a sudden where I was kind of leading them, they began to lead me, and they said, Dad, this whole idea of us seeking the kingdom, we feel like God is asking us to adopt. Not just support all these different projects, but to actually do it ourselves. I did what any good husband would do. I said, well, hold that thought until we get home and you can ask your mom. And I was doing everything I could to create some type of defense. We flew back home. Of course, they talked to their mom. She was the easy sell. Yeah, why don't we do that? Of course, then that left me sitting here going, oh, wait a minute, what about all the practical things? And I started asking what I thought were legitimate questions. How can I love someone that's not my own? We were doing all this other work. What's this whole point of actually, creating more chaos? Isn't order okay? Who likes order? Right? Who likes order? Yeah. And so this was a real struggle for me. And my kids had just asked me to pray about it. Dad, would you at least pray about it? And I said, yes, I would. And a few months later, I still didn't give them an answer. They said, well, what do you think? And I said, I don't know yet. To my oldest daughter's response was, Dad, you're really not praying about it, are you? You can't hide anything from your kids. And as my oldest son is sitting here, he knows this whole story. And so I said, okay, I'll pray about it. Well, we had several months go on. And then finally, I just felt like God gave me some peace. And so I told him, okay, let's go through with this. So we started the process of adopting. And you know what happened? All the agencies that we went to said no. So I thought, well, okay, this is like, Abraham and Isaac. This was just God's fleece out there, or I was just supposed to, he was just testing my faith. Would you really adopt? I was like, wow, they all turned down. Of course, I didn't let my wife and kids know this, but I was thinking, I'm off the hook here. And then my wife got a call from a lady and said, I heard that y'all been turned down because at this point we had 5 children in our home. Okay? 5 biological children. And she said, I heard y'all been turned down by everybody, but if you'll take a special needs child, I think I can get you one. My wife told me about this phone call, and you can imagine my response. at that point. Because even in my mind, I'm thinking, even if I had a choice in adoption of taking someone that, looked good, that was smart, that was athletic, everything that as a parent wants, right? I couldn't even get my mind around that, let alone who in the world chooses someone broken? Who chooses brokenness? Who does that? That night at dinner, we were gathered together as a family. We have this big round table. And one of my daughters asked, "Is there any update on the adoption process?" To which I quickly said, no update. That just shows you my level of fear. I said, no update. To which my wife gives me this look like I'm really in trouble here. Because here I just lied to my kids, and there was this standoff. And I finally relented, and I said, okay, well, actually, Mom did get a phone call. They said if we took a special needs child, we could adopt. And at that point, my two oldest daughters look at each other like this, and look back at me with a very satisfied look. And I thought, what in the world is that? And so I asked them, I said, what was that look? And they said, Dad, there was so this is 2 years later, when we told you that what we felt like for our family to seek God's kingdom was to adopt a child, there was one part we didn't tell you. And I said, oh, really? What is that? That he said to take one that no one else wanted. And at that point, I'll just tell you, I was broken. So here are my teenage daughters, knew that I could only, in one sense, handle part of the truth. So I said, okay, let's go move forward with this. And I said, but I still had this lingering question, who chooses brokenness? Okay, I was willing to go forward with it, but I said, who chooses brokenness? And a few months later, I hear God speak to me when I was spending some time early in the morning. And he said, are you ready for your answer? And I said, yes. And he says, I do. I choose brokenness because I chose you. So this set us on this adventure. This is Charlie. This is actually number 4, adopted. And we had our first daughter, so we got adopted 4 from China, all at different times. And it's been an incredible adventure. And a couple of things we've learned about this is life is risk and risk is right. I think you've heard in all the stories previously, and I'm sure all the other ones, when we think about the decisions we made, when we think about our purpose and who we are and pursuing God and seeking his kingdom, there is risk. But life is risk and risk is right. You know why? Because life is short and eternity is long. Right? The best investment we can make is in people. So what I thought was a great number, at 5, God had a whole different definition. He said 9's a better number. Yeah. And I think my encouragement to you, to everybody here, is that when we're thinking about our purpose, who we are, how God designed us, that we all live in such a way that we embrace this whole idea of risk, that we operate in faith, that we believe in the things that are unseen, which are eternal, versus the things we don't see, or Things we see which are temporal, that we believe in the things unseen which are eternal. And that we would live no reserves, no retreat, no regret. Thank you.
The stories just get better and better every time, isn't it? Was so inquisitive and asking Daryl, how could you go ahead and adopt these children? Not just adoption itself is tough for many of us, but adopting people with special needs isn't just amazing. Living truly the life of Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Yeah. Daryl Heald. Yeah. We have Sanjay and Sarah, part of our core team. They're entrepreneurs in this very own city of Bangalore. Let's put our hands together as they give this gift to Daryl. But thank you for your story.